Alright, so here we want to find the standard form of the ellipse and also give the location of the foci and also sketch the graph. So you notice that the equation is not given in the standard form, right? It's just written everything out: x squared plus 4y squared plus 10x minus 8y plus 13 is equal to 0. Alright, so what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to complete the square on this equation. But you notice there's two variables, right, x and y, so we're going to have to complete the square on both terms, okay? So the first thing we should do is we should write this in order, essentially, like grouping the terms together. Alright, so this is a positive 13, we'll subtract it over to the right, and then on the left side we'll group the terms together, so we get x squared plus 10x, and then we'll take the plus 4y squared minus 8y, and we'll set that equal to negative 13. Okay. Now, at this point we want to complete the square, right? So the first thing we want to do then, or the next thing we want to do, I should say, okay, is we want to factor out the 4 from these y terms, right? So we take out the 4 from the y squared, and then we factor out the 4 from the 8y, that gives us a 2y here, okay? And that equals negative 13. Okay, so now we have to complete the square on this guy, right? So in this case, we notice the coefficient of the square term is 1. So that means we're going to take half of the linear term, right? In this case, half of 10 is 5. And then we want to square it, okay, which is going to be, in this case, plus 25, right? But remember, the key is we have to do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so we want to make sure that we add 25 to the right side as well. Now when we complete the square on the y terms, right, half of 2 is 1, and 1 squared is 1. So that's what we're going to add here. Okay? But here's where you got to be careful, right? You do not want to add 1 on the other side, okay, because we actually factored out a 4, right? Okay, so really, what are we adding? We're not just adding 1 on the left side, right? We're adding 4 times 1, or just 1. So that means we need to add 4 on the other side. So notice what I've written in black is the original problem, right? What I've written in black ink here is just the original problem, but for the x terms, to complete the square, I'm going to add 25. So I'm going to add 25 to the left side and to the right side. And for the y term, right, we're going to add 1, right? But because of the 4 in front, we're going to add 4 on the left, which means we need to make up for that and add 4 on the right side. Okay, remember, the whole point of completing the square is to get this into a perfect square trinomial, right? So this is x plus 5, quantity squared, plus 4 times y minus 1, quantity squared, and that's going to equal negative 13 plus 25 plus 4, which is 16. And then the last thing we want to do here is we want to divide everything by 16, okay? Because we have to get the 1 by itself. Okay? So what does this mean? What is our final equation here? It's x plus 5 squared divided by 16 plus, now you notice in this case, the 4 will cancel out with the 16, so we get y minus 1 squared over 4 is equal to 1. And there we go, right? So we have successfully completed the square, and we've got the standard form of this equation. All right, so what can we get from this? Well, we can get the center. Okay, so the center is going to be negative 5 comma 1, right? So it's going to shift 5 units to the left, and it's going to shift 1 unit up. Right? A squared is the bigger number, right? A squared is 16, so that means that A is going to equal 4. Okay. B squared is a smaller number. B squared is equal to 4, so B is equal to 2. Okay. And remember, C squared is always A squared minus B squared, right? So in this case, C squared is going to equal 16 minus 4, which is just 12. Okay. So C is going to be the square root of 12. Okay. We'll simplify that a little bit later. Okay. So at this point, we have all the information we need to sketch this graph. Okay. So let's go ahead and sketch the graph then, right? So we know that the center of this guy was at negative 5 comma 1. Right, so let's go 5 units to the left and 1 unit up. So there's our center. Remember, the 8, the bigger term is underneath the x-axis. So that means that The major axis will be horizontal. I guess it's a good idea to write down this equation again, right? So x plus 5 squared over 16 plus y minus 1 squared over 4 is equal to 1. Okay, so we got the center at negative 5, comma 1. And a is going to equal 4 here, right? So that means we're going to go 4 units to the right and 4 units to the left. We're going to go 2 units up and 2 units down, right? So we got this football, I guess, that's just laying on its side, essentially, right? Or this oval, okay? All right, so the last thing we want to do then is determine where the foci are, right? Remember, c was equal to radical 12, right? If you simplify that, it is about 2 radical 3. Okay, now, I mean, as a decimal, okay, this is going to be a little bit between 3 and 4, okay? So that means the foci should be located about somewhere over here and somewhere over here. Okay? Now, remember, the center, right? Where was the center located? The center was at negative 5, comma 1, right? So then the foci should be where? Right? It's going to be at negative 5 plus or minus 2 radical 3, comma 1. Okay? So that means from negative 5, right, we're going to go 2 rad 3 units to the right. And then from negative 5, we're going to go 2 rad 3 units to the left.